Welcome to another edition of the Harmon and Solar podcast. I'm your host, Ralph Romano, VP of Sales and Marketing at Harmon and Solar. And with me, my co-host, as always, Ben Wolfschlager. You all know him as Mr. Everything.
Good to be back again.
I didn't even ask you how you're doing.
I'm just telling everyone it's good to be back.
Okay, well, because he enjoys coming here. He likes to see me.
Yeah, well, I like the food.
We do have food here every time, so we won't talk about that.
Okay.
So my question, here the question's coming. It always comes. So I'm gonna go back now. So we had pamphlet, business card pamphlet, right? We started pamphlet.
Sure.
Then we had a scroll.
Okay.
Then we had a adventure book.
Okay.
Which was odd. Where are we today?
Pretty much a like a Reader's Digest.
Now we're Reader's Digest.
Yeah. Things get added to it all the time.
Because you're just Mr. Everything.
Yeah.
So
added new things last week. So
maybe we'll let our guests know what the hell we're talking about in a second.
Sure.
Okay.
No, we'll just leave it.
We'll just leave it. Okay.
You confuse the whole show.
Yeah, that's perfect. So today, Ben, we're going to talk the site audit. So
I don't like audits.
You don't like audits. This is not an IRS audit.
Okay, I was gonna say never mind.
Because this guest is not from the IRS.
I pay my taxes.
Well, I do too. But today we're gonna keep down the path. We've gone through all these different stages, and now we've hit the point of where we have the site audit.
Yep.
So we're gonna talk about the timing of that and everything around that. And today we got another guy.
Got a guy.
We always got a guy or a gal. Mm-hmm. Today's another guy. And this guy's been around again a long time. I've been doing it a long time, and I would consider him an expert in the site audits, right? Which I understand somewhat.
Yeah.
I don't know what your feeling is on that.
I mean, yeah, he knows what he's doing. He's been around for a while, so I would hope so. We keep him here. He's employed.
He knows what he's doing. Good. All right. Well,
let's bring him on.
Should we bring him on?
Sure.
All right.
Push the button.
Was that?
Push the button.
I don't know that I want to.
All right.
Okay. So we're going to bring on Lucas.
There he is.
Hi, guys.
There he is.
Thanks for having me today.
Look at that guy. Welcome, Lucas.
Good to
so
be here.
Lucas Coombs?
Coombs.
All right.
Mhm.
So you are our site manager, supervisor? Site audit supervisor?
Supervisor, I guess is what
Yeah.
we're calling
Okay.
it. Yeah.
All right.
So you're a site audit supervisor.
Should we have a made up title for him, like we do Daniel?
We won't talk about Daniel's title. We never talk about that. So how long have you been at Harmon?
Well, I started at Harmon in 2013. I went back to college for a little while and came back, but this lasted 8 years.
8 years.
There you go. That's pretty good.
That's just your last stint.
Mhm.
But you actually were with
I
us
probably got almost 10 years with Harmon altogether. So
10 years.
commercial, I worked on the commercial side, then the the commercial electric, commercial solar, and then I came into auditing in the office.
Which is better? You can say it's okay.
I like the air conditioning.
Okay.
So, anyways, I like being inside.
All right.
It was really hot out there.
It was really hot out there.
I still get on the roof every once in a while, but
Yeah.
anyways,
Okay.
I'm an old goat and I like
Sure.
being in the
Yeah,
air conditioning. So,
He's bougie now.
What did you do before Harmon?
last paying job I had, I actually worked law enforcement out in Georgia. So, anyways, I'm from Georgia.
Okay.
I was born in Montana, grew up in California, and moved to Georgia.
Where'd you grow up in California?
Vacaville, California.
Is that north?
Right next to Travis Air Force Base.
Oh,
close
okay.
to Sacramento.
Yeah,
45 minutes from Sacramento.
Okay.
Ralph likes to pretend he's from California.
I am from Southern California.
See?
He's a NorCal guy.
I was stationed at Pendleton when I was in the Marine Corps.
Okay, so-
First rule of being a Marine is you have to tell everybody that you're a Marine. So any jarheads out there in podcast land,
Okay.
mission accomplished. So
Mission accomplished.
We'll put that in the
There
hashtags. Hashtag Marines.
We will, actually. We will do that.
anyways,
Okay, so let's talk about what you do at Harmon currently.
I supervise all of the information that we gather when we audit that gets pushed through to sales, operation, and the design department. I kind of make sure I oversee the process of collecting all the information and making sure that all the information that needs to be passed gets passed to everybody. So I'm trying to encapsulate it in a nutshell.
No, that's good. That's good. So you have an auditor or auditors that work for you.
Yep. I have one auditor right now. He's a handsome, young, strapping lad that comes and traipses around on people's rooftops like Santa Claus.
Nice.
Okay.
All right.
Does he wear a little red suit?
White beard.
If we ask him nicely.
If we ask him nicely.
Yeah.
We should do that. The month of December, make him dress up as Santa for all audits.
All right, so let's talk about the site audit. So we're going to educate people on what exactly that is. So once you buy a system from Harmon, and we've gone through the contract process and all that, the next thing that's going to happen, the logical next step would be us to come out and do a site audit, right? So
right. Because you can't just look at the proposal and be like, oh, panels are going here.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and install them.
We trust satellites and Google, and we know it's going to fit,
hope
and
it
we're
fits.
good,
Yep.
right? So we're better than that. And plus, there's a lot of things we got to look at that we're going to talk about. So a site audit. What is a site audit? So I'm going to ask our guest.
Let the expert.
If someone comes to you, so what's a site audit? What is a site audit?
Basically, what I tell people a site audit is whenever we come out there and we take pictures of everything that you got and see what it's going to take to put solar on your house.
Right.
I mean, we're taking a bunch of pictures around the house, on top of the house, of the electrical service, and basically gathering all the information that we need in order to see what it's going to take to put solar
So
on.
like you've met Dennis, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
we trust Dennis sometimes. No, we trust Dennis.
We do?
But when
Dennis is good people.
Okay.
he's good people. But when he sells something, he's selling it based on whatever Daniel, and we all met Daniel, what Daniel's put together for him based on what a satellite tells us. And we need to be able to now validate that we can actually put that system on that roof. And we're not only going to look at the roof, but we're going to look at other things too to help us validate that. So that's why you and your team are there.
Yep.
Right. So that's what's good. Now there's two types of site audits. I mean, so we've been playing with one type, and that's where we take pictures out at the site without an auditor going out. Maybe a salesperson will take pictures of everything that we need them to take pictures of. We'll give them a list and say, hey, we need to see all this stuff.
Gives you guys a good preliminary idea of what's going on.
Gives us a good idea. And we typically do this with stuff that's like maybe in Yuma or in Tucson or farther away, because we don't want to have to really roll a truck out there.
Yeah.
And if we can gather enough information, then we think we're good, then we're going to stamp it and move forward.
Right.
It's newer, Harmon. We've probably been doing that 6 months to a year. A lot of companies do that all the time. We don't like to do it all the time. We'd rather get our boots on the ground, boots on the roof, whatever,
Right.
and do it that way. So that's one of the types of site audit. So that's called it's basically a non-truck roll audit. We're going to focus on the truck roll audit, which is what you and your team take care of. And obviously, the big issue with why you want to roll a truck is if we miss something, the repercussions of missing that.
Oh yeah.
Right. So like you were talking about in the last podcast, you can see the roof and maybe get some measurements and stuff, but you can't see underneath the roof.
Right.
You can't lift a tile and say, how's the roof condition of that roof?
Right.
So that's where it gets tricky, right?
Yeah. Or the side of the house or backyard. There's a lot of things that we can't see, we don't know, so that's why we rely on.
And the worst thing that can happen is we don't catch that stuff, and then we get down to where we're getting ready to install. Oh, look what we just found that we were up on your roof, Mr. Customer. Yeah, that's going to cost time and money. Customer doesn't want to hear that. So that's why we always try to roll a truck most of the time, unless it's way out there and we just can't do it for whatever
I have
reason.
a recent site audit story. So
Okay.
sold a system. It was, looked great on the roof and everything. We won't mention names, keep the person, secret, I guess. Everything looked great, but then after the site audit, we realized there was a giant AC unit in front of the service panel.
Oh, wow.
Remember that one? I don't know if you knew
I don't
involved in that
remember
one.
that.
You probably
Yeah,
remember that one.
I know all about that one.
Yeah, so I didn't know. We didn't know. Doing the sale, but when we came out to the site audit, we go, this is a big issue. This is going to cost some delays and things like that. So we have to take care of it as soon as possible. So customer took care of it. They moved the AC unit in front of the site service panel. Everything went smoothly. But if we went ahead and did the permitting and the install and all that stuff, and then they came out and failed inspection, that would not look good on us. So.
Yeah, all the electrical equipment they have to maintain a walk-up clearance, a 3x3 clearance in front of all the new electrical equipment.
Yeah, so
people don't realize that, and that's another reason why we go out there.
Yeah, so it's important to do the in-person site audit to make sure that we got everything that we need to before we move on.
And one of the things that your auditor does when he's out there, besides looking at everything, I know they get a checklist of 1 million things that they have to look at. I know because I helped build that in one of our software pieces, and I was like, man, this is a lot of stuff. But I get it, right? But one of the things I noticed was they take 1 million pictures.
Yeah.
I mean, like
Right now, we've got it narrowed down to between 60 and 150 because we have more. I mean, the easy ones are about 60, but then we have battery installs and stuff like that where we need more information. We got to get in the garages, and it's a lot of pictures.
Do a video next time
on the pictures.
No, just like a full cinematic 2-hour video of the entire house.
I didn't realize I knew it was a lot.
Yeah,
That's a lot. There's a lot of people don't realize that there are a lot of little things that we have to capture. Where the fences, where are the gates, all those things. Where's the water? Where's the gas? Those things have to be captured for the design plan in order pass permitting and stuff like
So
that.
we're going to kind of go down a list of some of those things just to give people kind of an understanding, because I think that's a really good point. Is they don't understand there's so much involved here, and there's code violations, there's this, there's that, and you can get to the point where if something's done in the house and it's not permitted,
Yeah.
and now we go to put solar somewhere, and an inspector comes out, guess what? You're going to have an issue with the city.
Yep.
We just ran into one of those the other day.
I've had homeowners who've taken a look at, I've asked them a question,
Right.
take a look at the site audit photos, and they're like, I don't know what that is. I didn't. Like, how long have you lived in your home? About 10 years. You've been living here for 10 years. You don't know that this is on the side of your house. Nope. All right. Good thing we got those pictures.
So, and we're opening up a can of worms potentially.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we have to.
Right.
We have to.
So let's talk about the things that we're looking for. So I know I'll start at the very first one. We're looking to see if the design of the panels will fit, right? I mean, so how does our auditor, what does he do for that?
So we like to think that that's responsibility number one for the auditor is make sure first and foremost that the modules are going to fit on top of the roof.
Right.
So what he's going to do is he's going to drag his stuff on top of the roof. There's a ladder out there, safety, all that stuff. Climb up on the roof and start chalking stuff out. 3-foot fire clearances. He's going to start there. He's going to start with his corner module on one particular roof plane, and then he's going to go from there. And he's going to start making his.
He literally chalks it out.
He literally chalks it out.
Yeah.
So he's saying, will this fit?
Yep.
And if it won't,
For obstructions like vents or we have less room than we anticipated or something like that, he's going to start, trying to see where we can put modules if they won't fit for one particular reason or another. So,
and we've talked about in our last episode was why we design the way we design with panels and all the obstructions and everything. So this kind of ties right into that. And now we have a person on the roof that's actually looking for this stuff.
Yeah, because sometimes on those preliminary designs, there might be like a little blurry thing on the roof that we don't know what it is. Like, is it a vent or is it just
Dead squirrel.
right? A pigeon that just sat there or something for the photo. But then we get on the roof and go, oh, it was this, and now we can move things around it. So
Right. And then once you've done that, I remember back in the day, we used to have the little tool to check the sun. Do you remember that? The sun eye?
actually, I have that at my house.
Oh, you should have brought it.
Should have
brought it.
We still use it every once in a while. I have one particular laptop that I can't update because if I do, it won't work with the old Sun Eye machine anymore.
And that would just measure the actual sun and shading and stuff for the panels.
The Solmetric machine actually, you point it at 180 degrees, you put it where the modules are going to go, you say what azimuth, what tilt, and it tells you how much sun's going to go.
I remember that. We got away from using that now because the softwares are so advanced, they can actually do that for us now.
Yep.
But that was back in the day when we were talking. It was like, wow. Remember guys getting up there doing that.
With their abacus and everything.
Their abacus. Once you've done that stuff, now you're looking at roof condition. What do you do to determine the roof is good or bad?
Well, it's Arizona. Everything's usually concrete tile, S tiles, flat tiles, stuff like that. There's underlayment underneath those tiles. We flip up the tiles when we get out there and we take a look, especially where the overlap is. There are things that we look for: weathering, drying, moisture. There's moisture stains, curling. Whenever it's been exposed to the elements for too long, actually the paper where the overlap is will start curling.
Growing up, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then we look for other things like ridge seal, plastic ridge seal and stuff like that. We flip those tiles up. What we want the plastic ridge seal there for is to basically weatherproof the solar plane. So
right.
Nice.
Kind of the stuff David went into in his episode. Yeah.
It's starting to be like a full-on doctor's checkup. Going for a
that's
checkup
exactly kind of what it is.
For your house.
It is. But yeah, we look underneath the tiles. We see what kind of shape the underlayment is in. Just looking from the ground up to the roof and looking at the tiles and the flat tiles and the S tiles, you can't tell what condition the roof is in.
Right.
So anyway, we get up there and we do a little investigating. So
yeah, it's good information for the homeowner too, because they could think everything's hunky dory in their home, and then we go out and take a look at the roof and go, by the way, this is a couple days away from a leak. So just so you know,
we definitely want to capture that stuff in the beginning rather than in the end for sure.
What percentage? And I'm just going to throw this out there. What percentage of roofs actually fail in your mind that you look at?
I would like to say 5% maybe.
No, it's not that bad then.
No, it's not that bad. 5.
Yeah,
you guys have had Dave Coleman on here as our roofing manager, and me and Dave have had a million conversations. People don't realize that out here in the heat, they think 20-year roofs, 25-year roofs in their shingles. It's just not the case.
Right. It's just like buying a car battery. You buy a car battery and it has that 3-year warranty, but everyone who's selling you that car battery goes, it's 3-year warranty, but it's probably going to die in about a year and a half because of the heat.
So right around
we know this.
12 years.
Yeah.
So
we know. Same thing with roof.
Yep. So that's what I've been told. And I wasn't a subject matter expert on roofs in the beginning, but I'm talking to roofers and talking to Dave and stuff like that.
Kind of forced into it.
Forced into it.
Yeah.
Anyways. And we're pretty good at making a good initial assessment. And then if we need for him to look in depth into it because he's a subject matter expert, he will.
Right.
So
cool. I love how we're getting full circle here. It's kind of cool, right?
We should have a podcast with everyone one day.
Oh my gosh.
All 50
They
people.
won't all fit in here.
I'll hold
Make 'em fit.
hands.
We'll put them on top of each other.
A lot of microphones.
No. All right, so let's talk about the heart. I think this is where the heart of we're talking about being a doctor, going to the office, and the physical. The heart to me is the electrical panel, right?
Yes.
Because that's where everything's going to centralize in. And I know there's so many things with the electrical panel.
I'll try to keep it understandable and brief.
So I mean, let's just talk about that. You mentioned briefly the code issues. So what is the general rule for panels as far as like clearance stuff like that?
Okay, for all the electrical equipment, there's basically you got to look at it like a 3x3 box in front of your service panel that goes all the way to the sky. Anyways,
And nothing
above
can
it,
be in that 3x3
nothing in front
box.
of it. No, nothing. Just nothing can encroach upon that area.
Right.
So, anyways, that's just that's a utility requirement.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a safety thing, I guess.
And it's safety, utility. If something catastrophic were to happen, they need to be able to make sure that they don't have to try to get around a tree
Right.
or foliage in order to get to your panel to cut it off so that nobody gets electrocuted or something like
So
that.
you have clearance rules. How about walls? It can't be behind a wall. Or I know APS has rules about walls.
No, we can put stuff behind walls.
It's iffy. They have to have like 24-hour access to it, so it can be like gates and stuff like that. Like
anything like a service disconnect, it all boils down to safety. So in order to turn something off, do firemen have to go into the backyard in order to turn it off before
Right.
they can get on the roof and poke a hole to let heat out whenever
Right.
there's a fire?
Right.
So anyways, they want it all where it's accessible.
Right. So everything has to be accessible.
Right. Yes.
Right. You can't have it in your podcast room in your upstairs house.
Which you see a lot in the Midwest where they have those inside the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the services are actually in the house, in a closet.
Oh wow.
Yeah, as we opened up in Oklahoma, we started finding services in the closet.
That's
It's like, oh, there's
interesting.
my sweater, there's my jacket, there's my service panel.
Different jurisdictions and
Yeah,
different
it's just
codes.
different, right? And Arizona is very different. And then it's funny. I see pictures all the time, and I know you guys are looking at pictures all the time. But there could be like a gas pipe running right under an electric panel or a water pipe.
You see all kinds of stuff with unpermitted additions and stuff like that. People doing stuff that they're not really supposed to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyways, and we run into stuff like that. But there's rules for everything. So, anyways, gas and water put in weird places right next to the service panel, which
Right.
you don't want gas right in front of something that could spark. You don't want
Water and electricity. They're not
Water-
really good friends.
water's a conductor. So
We just saw one I think it was last week. Brad showed me. Brad's our director of operations. He showed me a picture of somebody that had like a water spout that was running for some kind of a washer in the house, right underneath the SES. Like someone just did it that way. It's
Yeah.
like you can't do that.
And homeowners don't know. They just have some guy come out and do it, and they think everything's up to code, and and they find out later
when a
on.
thunderstorm rolls over the lake and you're in the water, you get out. So, anyways, it should make sense that you don't want water near electricity.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you don't want gas, spark, big boom.
Right.
So
And then I know that we have our operations meeting, and it's a constant conversation about breakers. Like there's the main breaker, which whatever that is, this could be
200, 150, 175, 200 amp. It's the main service disconnect. So you flip the main breaker, and then all your circuit breakers after that don't work.
So that main breaker sometimes has to be,
It cuts all the power.
it cuts all the power. And we do a thing called derating. What's that?
Holy smokes, guys! This is one of the
2-hour
hardest
podcast.
This is one of the hardest concepts to explain.
And I don't think I have my head around it after 10 years.
I'm going to try to make it
Sesame
easy, but anyways. So there's National Electric Code has rules for Solar backfeed and the electrical service. So basically, your backfeed breaker plus your main breaker cannot exceed 120% of the bus rating, which is usually out here in Arizona 200 amps. So there's a number that you have to look for, 240. You can't usually 120% of the 200 amp bus rating is 240. So a 60 amp breaker plus a 175 amp main breaker. So solar 60 amps, main breakers 175 amps. When you add them together, it equals 235.
And you're good.
That's under 240, which is 120% of the bus rating.
So as long as you're below the 240, you're all right.
But anyway, and then on a 225 amp bus, you have 270 is 120%. So now,
So there's different rules, but that's just. I mean, and I don't want to get I don't want to get in the weeds that I understand. We'll do something like
have a whole podcast on D-rate.
Yeah, we'll talk about that because that actually we do. I mean, they D-rated my house. I mean, it was a 200 amp, now it's 175 amp.
Mine too.
Right, so they did that in order so it would work. So we'll get into that. But there's probably a whole conversation just about that, and it's very technical, and it might kill people to listen to because I've been listening to it for 10 years and I still kind of get it.
Yeah.
So
You can exclude me from that.
Yeah,
one.
you just when you add the solar breaker, sometimes you have to make the main breaker smaller in order to not exceed the limitations. Anyways, I'm not gonna.
No, it's okay. Okay. But now I know one of the things you guys do is you get into load calcs.
Yep.
So that's probably not as complicated.
That's all me.
That's all you, right?
Super boring.
So what is load calcs? We tell customers, we have to do a load calc to see if it's going to work, and they're like, what?
Right.
I even say, what? What's a load calc?
So the load calculation is the sum of all your the sum of all the circuits that you have on your house. So
you add them all up,
I add them all up,
and that
calculate
tells
it
you,
out, and it tells me whether I can do the D-rate that we just talked about.
okay.
Gotcha.
So you have,
So I have to make sure that the load calculations, if I D-rate a main breaker to 175 amps, I have to make sure the load calculations stay under 175 amps, or else it'll just pop and pop and pop.
okay.
All information we can't get from an aerial view.
Yeah, well, that's the whole point of having this conversation,
That's
right?
the point.
There's
of
just a
having an audit.
million things that it's just little things. I'm sure you guys have talked about it before, but Arizona is so unique in that, all the jurisdictions go by, it's not a uniform policy, different codes, different building codes, different electric codes. So anyways, and we have to make sure that we grab all this information that will please all of the jurisdictions.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyways, so we have to get something specific for this place, and we have to get something, but we have to do it every single time. So it's an all-encompassing thing that we have to do.
You get a lot of those homeowners. Well, my friend didn't have to do that. I'm like, well, they're in Glendale and you're in Peoria. That's the difference.
Yeah, and people don't get that.
Right.
And they don't understand that where you live, it really drives all the rules.
Right.
Peoria is different from Phoenix.
Peoria is
Phoenix
very
is different from Maricopa County. All these different rules, and we have to, and then it goes for setbacks. That goes for the electrical side. It's everything.
Yeah, and then you live in Scottsdale, but it's actually a Phoenix jurisdiction, so we have to go off of this and that, and so it's
Absolutely.
very unique.
It's very unique, and we talk about customization. That's just another form of it's customized to the utility and what they want. So, geez, that's true. And then I know one of the things we talk about is dead fronts, because I guess what you guys do is when you look at the panel, the guy goes in there and takes the front off and takes a picture of the bus and all the.
It's just the cover over the breakers.
Right.
Anyways,
So-
take it off. And
We've had customers go, I can just take that off. Well, no, because if you take it off and touch the wrong thing, you're going to die.
Let us do it.
Yeah.
Because you can, right? I mean, there's enough power back there, it can kill you.
Yeah. It'll hurt you.
So is that how we pick our auditors? We kind of like them, but we don't. We say, you're the dead front auditor? No, I'm kidding. It's a total joke. So
Initiation.
But point being,
we don't
you
have
guys,
many
you guys are
auditors.
looking at all of that stuff.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
Not only that, once we pull the dead front off, we see what's connected, what's not connected, what's turned off, what's turned on. Anyways, so
And then I know that the little tube on the bottom of, so you have your panel, and then there's this tube that comes from the ground and goes into that, and that's called a riser.
riser.
And I always see that we've replaced those a lot. Why would we replace a riser?
In order to pass inspection, we can't have anything that's cracked. So sometimes they're rigid metal conduit risers, there are PVC risers. Anyways, and PVC is just plastic on steroids. And anyways, so it breaks in the heat.
Yeah.
Anyways, and not only that, whenever a house is first built, the riser's put in, and then there's settling and stuff like that.
Right,
So, a couple months after the riser's put in there and the electrical services on the house, and things start shifting and heat and cold and rain and all that stuff, and it could crack it right at the base of the hub. There's a little hub that connects the riser to the service entrance section. So
Okay.
So,
All good info. Did not know that.
And we replaced a lot of those.
but it has to be intact before it'll pass inspection. So if we go out there and it's cracked, it's got to be fixed before we finish all of our stuff.
And we're doing a lot of this stuff for that. We have to pass an inspection. We don't want to fail the inspection. That's just going to anger us, anger you.
Right.
We have to do safety behind it. We got to make sure this thing's not going to explode or catch fire. So we got to follow all those different rules. And so that the service panel is the heart of the solar installation.
Yeah, we joke about that, but there's
It
a
happens.
lot. There's a lot of homeowners like, well, why are you doing this? I don't want this. Like, well, your home could catch on fire if we don't do that. So this is why we're doing it.
I mean, we have a classic example that we've been talking with this customer for probably 2 months, where somebody went out there and did something on this guy's panel where it's
Oh, yeah.
it's not right. We're afraid it's going to catch on fire.
Sure.
And we don't want to put our name on this thing and start touching this and just leave it the way it is.
Right.
We got the manufacturer involved. We got a bunch of people involved in this and said, is this right? And they're like, absolutely not. This needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
And the customer was hearing from the electricians that they were talking to is, oh, no, it's fine.
It's fine.
Well, it's not fine. And we're not going to touch this. We're actually going to cancel this project unless you do it the right way.
Right.
And so that one of the reasons sometimes Harmon gets a bad rap is because we're not willing to just do anything.
Yeah.
Right. And we're going to do what's right for you and right for us as well, because it's our liability. And people don't like that. But I think they finally decided to go with it. I think we're actually going to replace that.
I'm the one that found that discrepancy.
Yeah.
And anyways, and I was like, whoa, that's not right. Anyways.
It was bad.
And I'm not going to bore you with the details or anything like that, but another electrician wired it wrong.
Right.
And it has a serious potential for overheating or possibly fire or damage because they got too much electricity going to one spot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And a homeowner,
too much potential electricity going to one spot.
Yeah, a homeowner is going, okay, well, I have my electrician saying it was done right, Harmon saying it's done wrong. Who's right? So then that's when we go, okay, well, we're going to get the manufacturer involved. We're going to get other entities involved and go, here's all the facts. Now you make the decision of who's right or wrong.
And this took almost 2 months.
Turns out we were right.
Yeah, to actually make the decision. But it was like, we had to come down. We finally just said, hey, either we do it this way or we just walk away.
Right.
We're not doing this.
Right.
So, and I agree. That's exactly what we should do. Okay, so we're talking about the heart. We'll get away from the heart for a second. You guys are also, when you're doing audits, if we sell batteries, you're looking at the location for batteries. I know there's a lot involved in that.
There's even more involved in that.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I guess if I toned it down a little bit, you're looking for a certain distance from the actual service,
We try to keep it close.
like within 20 feet, 30 feet.
We'd like to keep it within 20 feet is, we're looking at minimizing conduit runs and wire length and stuff like that.
Right.
Anyways, but there's other things that go into it. If you put it on the outside of the house, we can't be more than closer than 5 feet to doors and windows. There's other things.
There's a lot of rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of them are jurisdiction rules, and some of them are like Tesla rules, for instance.
Yes.
Tesla has their own rules.
Tesla has one of
How do you
Tesla's
remember
installation rules is, if we put it on the outside of the house, they don't want it on the backside of living area. So let's say
That's right.
a
It can't be
bedroom,
outside of a bedroom.
outside of a bedroom.
Wow.
They want it
Catches
outside
fire.
kitchen. So we have to know what's on the other side of the wall too.
Wow.
That's what I'm saying. So this is the smartest guy in the room, right? All this
Should I leave?
smarter than you.
Should I leave?
All the stuff he has to remember.
I have to remember. All
Yeah,
of
that's
this
a lot of rules.
It's insane, right? And this is your job on a daily basis to know all this
I have to figure out what's good and what's bad, and figure out how to make it work. And
utilize the experts around you to kind of get them together and say, hey, we
and
need to
they're-
go through this stuff.
I'm not the most intelligent person at Harmon, that's for sure. But anyways, but if I don't know the answer, I know how to find
Get
the
it,
answer.
yeah.
So
All right. So we talked about getting on the roof, making sure the modules fit. We talked about looking at shading. We talked a lot about the SES. I don't think I want to talk much more about it. I mean, it's just the bottom line is it's either going to work or it's not. If it's not going to work, we're going to try to do a D-rate. If that's not going to work, then we have to replace the panel. We get into a lot of panel replacements, and there's obviously a cost to that. Sometimes somebody's going to a system size so big it requires going from a 200 amp to a 400 amp, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so, and God help us, it takes a year to get a 400 amp because of the backlogs from the pandemic and everything else. They're getting
service
better now.
requests through the utility company take
We're going to talk
forever.
about that, yeah. So that's something we'll talk about. But there's a lot involved in all that stuff. So man, and you.
And we're halfway through the audit.
We're a good part through of it. And then like if we're doing any kind of a trenching, I mean, so a lot of times maybe it's a detached garage
Sure, yeah.
and there's modules on the detached. Then you have to go take a look at the trenching issue of it, right?
Yep. And
We do get those people like, oh, yeah, can I put panels on my, detached garage, my barn in the back? Like,
everybody
yes.
sees a separated structure and they think we just throw them on there and everything's going to be good. And
Right.
It's easy. And
So wait, the electricity doesn't just magically jump from there to your house?
No.
Interesting.
And think about that. So let's say we have to do trenching. What things are you looking for when you have to do that?
what's in the way, what's in the path, or what's the path of least resistance between that structure and this structure. Mm-hmm. These trenches, we have to send a private locator out to find out where gas and water is. That's another thing. The path from the other structure to the house. These trenches are 18 to 24 inches deep. So
Yeah.
and we have to trench, and the inspectors have to come out and look at the trench,
Right.
make sure that everything's good and it's a certain depth, and then we can backfill and do all that stuff. So, I mean, the distances, we look at the distances, we look at what's in the way.
So wait a second. When I talk to people, they're like, well, I just go hire some guys from Home Depot and they're going to come and dig a hole for me.
Yeah.
That won't work? Is that what you're saying?
No.
'Cause you have to-
then if it gets inspected and you say, hey, here's where the conduit is under the ground, and then you have to go out there and dig a little hole so that somebody can come out and inspect and verify that it's 18 to 24 inches deep. Yeah. Anyways, it's just it's a lot of stuff.
Let us do it the right way.
Anyways, but it's, there's a lot. Even more that goes into that.
We do have those homeowners who are like, I'll just trench it myself. I'm like, okay, but
we have had that. We have had that. It's got to meet the requirements.
just so you know.
Otherwise, all that trenching
Coming
is
out of the
nothing.
garage with a garden trowel and
I get it done in 3 weeks.
I can tell that talking about all this stuff, you're probably going to need a drink.
I got my coffee.
All right. I'm not talking coffee. All right. Well, that's good.
You think there's coffee in there.
This is
Some
horrible.
Bailey's in here. I've never done that before. I heard it's fun though.
All right. So we've done all that. You've looked at all those things. And then I know that you guys also look at safety concerns. Right. So I
Yep.
know as a
Look at all that
sales
stuff.
department, we have to actually kind of try to find them ourselves sometimes. I know we talk about their dogs in the yard because our auditor has to come and take a look.
Mm-hmm.
But then you're looking at safety things. Like, give me an example of what kinds of safety issues you might find.
Every once in a while, and it's the exception, not the rule, that there will be clutter.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of those.
around the house in places where we need to be able to get on the roof
Yep.
in order for the install guys to, to put their ladders back there and walk the modules up on top of the roof, and
Right.
clutter. Once again, not only is the 3x3 clearance issue that we talked about for the electrical panels, that's considered a safety issue too.
Yeah.
Anyways,
That makes sense.
I think I saw an audit note. So it was like a beehive nearby or something, or like bees or wasp in the backyard. Like, do you remember that? I mean, he's probably seen so many, but I do remember seeing one that like they need to take care of the wasp. So I'm like, yeah, well, you got to take care of wasps. We don't want to get stung while we're working on
makes
your
sense.
house. So
what else?
yeah, most of the time it's
Some of the 2-story houses, in order to get get all the way up on top of the 2-story house. Sometimes there isn't a structure that you can. There's a step up process. So now, it's 30 feet to the roof, and
So we have to get a crane in those situations sometimes, right?
Sometimes.
Because we have to get those
Sometimes.
modules up there. We can't just walk them up a ladder.
Yep. So we like to point out those kind of things. Clutter being one thing, clearance issues being another thing. How we're going to get the stuff onto the roof. We try to look at all that stuff to make sure it's easier as it can be for everybody. So
And then I would think another thing that we have to do, or that you have to do, or someone has to do, I guess this is a combination of the designers and you, is we have to determine the conduit runs, right? We have to make sure we can actually do the conduit runs correctly.
see how it's going to get from the modules. The conduit is going to get from the modules to the service panel. So.
Yeah. And it not just be ugly.
yeah, whether it's
Yeah.
on top of the roof or in the attic. Yeah.
Well, that's one thing. I think that at Harmon, our standards are a little bit higher
Right.
when it comes to aesthetics and stuff like that. So,
I agree.
anyways, just how we're going to do it. Are we going to tuck it up under the eave? Are we going to run it along a stem wall? How much of it's going to be exposed to, from the street and stuff like that? We try to look at all that stuff. So,
How much time does an auditor spend at a home on average?
it really depends on the audit, but we're looking at an hour and a half usually. If I had to get, it just varies.
But an hour, probably
hour
hour and a half is probably a good. And does the homeowner need to be there?
Yes. Yes and no. They can.
Depends.
So I kind of touched on it earlier, but the designs have to have certain things. So we got to be able to get in the yard. We have to show where all of the water spigots are and stuff like that. Where the fences start, where they end, all that stuff has to be, in order to pass, for a design to pass permitting, we have to have all those things. They have to be accurate.
So he's measuring all that stuff.
Sometimes,
yeah. Mm-hmm. And I know that we've done some pretty big systems and some really huge homes. And I know we've had a team of people go out and do those audits, yourself included.
Yep.
Where you guys will go out there and spend hours out there.
Because there's so much information that we have to grab. Sometimes, I'll go out there on these big, huge systems just to make sure that we get everything, and somebody's double checking somebody else. We don't want to have to go out there a second time. We try to do it in one shot.
Right. But there are times now, to be fair, there are times that we're going to have to maybe go out a second time. Maybe we looked at all the information and go, yeah, we're missing this, we're missing that, or we need to really go back and relook at this. So that can happen, just so a customer understands.
Perfect.
Yeah, we're not perfect, but also the situation may dictate that also. Just that has nothing to do with being perfect or not. It's like, now we need to go back and validate this or verify this.
Let's get it right.
Right, get it right.
Or sometimes things change. The customer finds out maybe later rather than sooner that there's going to be exposed conduit on the roof, and they say, hey, how about running it through the attic or something like that? Then we got to go back out and take a look in the attic or something.
Yeah, now we got to get in the attic and look at everything there, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so once an auditor has gone out there and done his job and gotten all this stuff, and with an hour and a half, whatever it takes for him to do that. So then what he does is he's going to upload all that information to our system, right? So he has pictures, 60 to 140 pictures he has to upload.
Yep.
He has to fill out the report, or if he's done it on the tool, he has everything filled out, and he uploads everything. So we usually give an auditor probably 24 hours to do that after the audit, right? 48. I'm sorry, 48 hours. So we'll say 24 to 48
We'll
hours.
edit that.
We'll edit that. So 24 to 48 hours to get that done, because he's going to house to house to house.
No, I'm sorry. It's 48 for me to start looking at it.
Oh, we're gonna get to you start looking at
upload.
it. Right.
It is 24 for the upload. I'm sorry.
No need to edit.
Sorry.
Okay, auditor, you have 24 hours, or we're coming after you.
Clock starts.
Right, clock starts now.
We're 48 to 72 for us to.
So then we get into what's called an audit compilation, and that's where you kick in.
Okay.
Right.
Yep, that's me.
He's like, okay, this is what makes me drink.
Yeah. So this is where homeowners, have to have a little patience, because as soon as the first thing is someone coming out to their home, taking all the measurements, and right away, like right when they leave, they'll call me and they go, okay, now what? Now we wait, and so that Lucas can do his job, and we'll figure it out from there and find out what's going on.
Yeah, and we tell people I think we tell them to give us about a week to get out there, audit it, get all the information back, then take a look at it. And there's things after that we'll talk about. But so now we do what's called an audit compilation, and that's where you've gotten all this information from the auditor.
I crunch it.
And you basically crunch it is what you do. You have to go through everything. And if you see anything that's questionable, like you may see, I've noticed, hey, the roof is questionable. Hey, David, take a look at the roof. And so David's going to look at pictures, and he might even just say, I need to go out and take a second look, and he'll go out and look at it. Yep. I've seen where he'll
get up on the roof and lift up tiles and take a more stringent look at it.
He'll put his eye on it, and so that could be something that can delay. Or probably the biggest one that I see that takes time, and we have zero control over this, is now we need a utility input. So we have to go back to the utility and say, hey, this is going on. We need you to help us. Right. What do you want us to do?
Right.
Give me an example of what
I do that stuff too.
What would need a utility input?
Okay, I'm going to try not to bore everybody again. But
well, don't get into detail, just in general.
Say there's an old service panel on the house that doesn't offer where they don't manufacture the updated parts that we need that have higher capacities.
Okay.
Before they interrupt ratings and stuff, things of that nature. Have you guys talked about that stuff before?
No.
22K rated parts.
No,
and stuff
not
like
at all.
that? No. Not at all.
No, not at all.
So
I like how he whispers off to the side.
Yeah.
Anyways,
does anyone know about this?
So
it's okay.
No one's watching this, so it's okay.
Okay. So
except for my mom, maybe.
Using higher interrupt rated parts that have a higher capacity before they lose their integrity and stuff like that. They hold up to a little bit more heat, current,
so more of an upgraded part.
Upgraded part. Anyways, some of the older panels don't manufacture parts for those old panels.
Right.
So we get out, and trying to, keep it less complicated. We have to have upgraded parts to put in those panel in order to pass inspection
Right.
because of newer NEC codes and
Right.
stuff like that.
And if we can't find them or they don't want to make them, then we have to
then
change
we
the
have
panel.
to change the panel.
Right.
Anyways.
So that could be an example, or maybe like we talked about with the wall and access. If access doesn't make a whole lot of sense, if it's not there, we don't think it's there, we might ask the utility,
Yep.
are you okay with this?
Hey,
Yeah.
this was already here like this. Can we grandfather this because it was constructed like this and somebody passed it before?
Okay.
But we want to make sure it's okay.
And they have
Well,
to give us our blessing. They have to give us the blessing.
Yeah. They
Otherwise, we
say
have
that
to move it.
this is okay. Like, hey, it was built this close to the gas meter
Right.
originally. We didn't do anything. All we did was go out and take pictures. But listen, if you want us to move it, we'll move it. Or if you tell us it's okay to keep there,
Yeah.
then it goes through a process. It goes to somebody high enough at APS or SRP or stuff like that where they say, hey, we can work with this, or no, it needs to move.
And really, they dictate it, and we have to abide by whatever they
Right.
say.
Right. That's
They're-
the important
they're the
thing.
boss.
It's not us saying it, it's them.
And unfortunately, sometimes that can take a little bit. We put a input request in. It could take
we
a
gotta-
week. It could take 2 weeks.
We got to change the service panel out for an old one for a new one. I'm the one that does that too. Anyways, it takes it's 5-day process for them to respond initially. So
Wow.
anyhow, they're sometimes they're better, sometimes they're not so good.
It just depends, right? How busy they are, what time of year it is. Just like anything
Yeah.
else. Just like even with us. I mean, things change. Things
But
happen.
It takes time. It takes time.
I'm gonna get a job there and see if I can speed it up. All right, guys.
Yeah, I don't.
Let's get this 5 days down to 2.
And they give us all sorts of information that tells us what we have to do at install.
Yeah.
Whether new power feed wires need to come in, whether the service needs to move, whether the riser needs to be changed out, all kinds of things that tell us.
My favorite is always when the transformer or the box or whatever you call it is in my neighbor's yard or it's running through my neighbor's, and we have to get access to that.
Right.
And that means we might have to trench in their yard or do something in their yard. And
Now we have to get permission from the neighbors.
Right.
right.
And the utility has to come out and take a look at it, and they have to look at easements and stuff like that. Where's the transformer? Where's the transformer at? What's the path of least resistance for?
Right. I hope you have a good relationship with your neighbor because they will now control. If they can say no, you're
Right.
done. There's not a whole lot we can do about it.
Imagine that conversation. Like, talk to a homeowner who doesn't have solar. Like, why don't you have solar? My neighbor said no. All right.
I mean, that happens.
Yeah.
I can think of times where we had to go across the street to do stuff and we had to trench underneath the street and
Yeah, concrete work and pavement work.
I
and
mean,
asphalt.
it can get crazy. So it's not, I'm not trying to scare people, but I'm just saying there are scenarios
Yeah.
where we have to really get a lot of input and a lot of information from other people. And that's really what your and your team's job is to gather that information.
all the information
and
and
then
figure out.
and then you put it all together and then you start looking at our experts going, hey guys, this is what we have. And we literally meet once a week in a meeting and we talk about this stuff. And you come in all frustrated and talk through it. And,
Well, it's just
I get
there's a
it.
lot that goes into
Yeah,
it, and
yeah.
and what's frustrating sometimes is not everybody understands.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I have to be the one that goes in and says, hey, we can't do that. They think it's just as easy. Well, why don't you just do that? I'm like, well, because of this. And this.
And that's the problem with salespeople and us being salespeople is we don't have that knowledge or that understanding. So maybe sometimes we're not as fair to you as we should be. But that's just honestly, I'm going to say it. It's our ignorance, right? We just want to get to move. We want it to move forward. But you're, like I said about Dave and everybody else, you're helping to keep us honest to say, hey, no, we got to do what's right for the customer. We got to do what's right by the rules and this and that. And so we just can't do it that way.
We just can't cut corners.
Right.
It ends up being a bad.
Yeah, and not every home is the same. You know, you can have those communities where every home looks the same because they're all built the same, but then we go out to the home and find out, oh, this is a different issue compared to your neighbor who got solar with us and compared to the person across the street who got solar with us.
Right.
All three of you guys were different.
And that's where you guys, I know
Yeah.
you try to explain to customers, this is what truly sets us apart is, we do all this other stuff.
Well, what I really want to do is give the customers your phone number, but they won't let me.
I would
Can we
love
flash
to
it on the
talk.
screen? to the-
Yeah, we're going to flash it
We're
here
gonna
in a
flash on the
second.
screen.
His
I would
phone
love to
number.
talk to each and every one of them.
Go ahead and comment down in the
Because
comment
I'll
section.
be honest,
Lucas will answer.
sometimes you guys tell us stuff, and then thank God we have project managers even, and sometimes they'd maybe even struggle with it, but they have a lot more experience than we do. But we say you explain that to the customer because honestly, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
It no good. It won't work because that's all I know.
Right.
But that's where a guy like you. So it's important to show people, the site audit process that we have and the guys and the gals behind it that really have to do a ton of work in that period of time just to make sure your system's going to work and get it to work. So I hear all the time from other companies or other customers that, they promised me they're going to get this installed in 10 days or 15 days. And I'm just going to go, I don't think so. And if they do, I'd be really
I would love
worried
to see it, because I'm going to come out there with a lawn chair and a pina colada, and I'm just going to sit there and watch. Come on, I want to see this.
The time frame's a time frame. There's not a whole lot we can do about it. If your install is a simple one that just goes through it, it's real easy. We're done. We could probably move through it in 45 days. I mean, it's very possible. But that's that's a clean job, and they're not all going to be clean.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that a lot of people don't, are unaware of, and we kind of make it that way so homeowners don't have to worry about it. There are issues that come up, but we don't necessarily have to, make it public.
They just don't realize
we can fix this.
It's not as easy as just slapping solar on the roof. That's just.
The audit is so important. It's such a big part of this process. Once you've signed on the dotted line.
Yeah.
This is a huge part. This is the next huge hurdle you have to get through. And once you get through this and it's all clean, and then we get to the design process, we're going to be doing more and more podcasts. We're going to talk about the design process. We're going to talk about all the things that go on after that up to the install, which is why we're going to look to bring a project manager on here soon, and probably in the next couple episodes, and kind of talk about how they now have to take that information and how they have to orchestrate this whole thing to make it work. Mm-hmm. It's a process, right? It's an absolute process.
I've had so many customers ask me, can we do this? Can we do that? And I don't know. The audit's going to decide what we can and can't do. So, and after that, who knows?
Right.
We'll figure it out later.
And we're not trying to make it sound hard to scare you.
No.
This is just the reality. This is why you want a company that knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
On the back end to take care of you, not just some fly-by-night guy that's just trying to sell you something and walk out of there.
I would rather, other than solar, just anything in life, I'd rather have someone tell me, I don't know, but we're going to find out, versus someone just go, yeah, we can do that. And then be disappointed and let down later.
Yeah. The typical sales guy. We can do that.
Yeah, sure. We can
do anything. I always answer that way.
I know I'm a pain in the butt sometimes, but I got to tell everybody the good stuff and the bad stuff.
Right.
And we have to figure out how to make it work. So,
and that's no surprises.
Yep.
Right? That's the key.
That's the goal.
We do not want surprises at the end. We want this all up front taken care of. So when we get to the end, you're happy, we're happy.
There are no surprises.
Because surprises are the killer of solar.
Mm-hmm.
The killer of anything.
Yeah. I mean, we could go up there and just install panels however we want, do we want, but then the inspection comes out and they go, take everything down. This is all wrong.
I can't tell you how many times I hear that story where a couple things, and it's the end of the year, so I really want to get this up there because of the tax credit and this or that.
Yeah.
And this solar company comes, and we're just experienced it this month, right? I'm going to go with this company because they say they can get up there. Yeah, they probably can. Yep. They could probably put a stanchion and the panels up there, not even permit it, get it all up there, and then just do this and pray.
And
it won't be turned on by the end of the year. It'll be turned on 5 months later, 8 months later, because they do it backwards.
Right.
And we're not going to do that.
Say somebody throws solar on top of the roof of a bad roof, and then a year later they have to tear it all down.
Yeah.
And get a new roof.
And we've talked about the high cost of that. I mean, it's a per panel cost, and it's outrageous.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in that scenario. So we got to do things right from the get go, and that's why we have guys like Lucas he's got a crucial part of this process. It's a crucial part of this process. So we appreciate everything you do, even though sometimes in meetings it doesn't sound like we appreciate it, and we get frustrated. I know that I'm a guy that does that sometimes.
True story.
But the reality is we're glad that there's guys like you there because it helps us.
There's just a lot that goes along, and thanks. There's just a lot of stuff that goes into it. People don't realize. Yeah. Anyways, I got to capture all that stuff and make sure that everybody's aware of everything. Anyways, so anyhow,
it's important.
Sometimes I got to go in the meeting and say, your baby's ugly.
And he does that.
Yeah.
And I don't appreciate you calling my baby ugly.
No, not yours.
No. You can call Ben's ugly. That's fine. Not mine.
You brought an actual baby to the meeting and said it was ugly. That kid's ugly.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the site audit. That's the process that we go through. And it's there's a lot to it. And it takes a little bit of time, but
we try to make it quick and painless, but there's a lot of stuff that we got to get. So.
Right. Thanks for coming and joining us. We appreciate it.
I hope I gave you guys some useful information. And maybe it's a little bit easier for you guys to explain to people.
I learn stuff every day.
No, I think it's been great. I mean, I've been learning a lot in these podcasts. This is episode 7, I think, right? Wow. 7 episodes.
Yeah.
So, and we've learned a lot through these 7 episodes and bringing guys like you in and stuff. I never thought I'd get you in here.
Really?
I got you, though.
No, I came to you, didn't I?
No. Not at all.
You requested to be on here.
All right. So, Ben, What are we doing next?
I don't know. What are we doing next? We had like a
It was
list.
your suggestion.
We had a whole list.
You told me you wanted to do something, and I said, you know what? We're going to take a 1 episode break from the
that's right, that's
process,
right,
and we're
from the
going to do
process.
and we're going to do what you want to do.
Solar 101.
Right.
No,
So
just what is solar and how does it work? And
We
all
haven't
that
touched
stuff.
that.
We've done all these tiny little things,
Right.
but we haven't talked about big picture.
And we used to do Solar 101 seminars.
Yeah.
Right. So we're going to basically do a Solar 101 seminar on the podcast.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do next time. So stay tuned for that one. That'll be pretty good. That'll just be me and Ben.
Yeah. No guest.
No guest, maybe slides, but no guest. We didn't have
all right.
slides today. That was really good, right? I didn't
Yeah.
need slides today.
Don't need them.
So me and Ben will come back at you and we'll do Solar 101 next. Anything? you guys
Sounds
wanna-
good. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all
That's
that
right.
else,
So
all the good stuff.
Like us, subscribe. You can go to, you can listen to us on Spotify, on iTunes, on iHeart, all the little places for audio. We're on YouTube. Subscribe and like to that channel. Appreciate all the support we've been getting. This is really starting to grow, and we're going to continue to do this. We hope to get another couple done this year as we're getting toward the end of the year and getting into Thanksgiving and stuff. So we appreciate the support, appreciate you watching, and we will see you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.